Hello, this recording is the first in a series of 3 episodes which collectively provide information on the educational requirements for the audit qualification. The focus of the video series is on the practical training requirements, and so we will be explaining how best to optimize your CA diary for the purpose of this qualification. The video series is aimed at all trainees who are in a training contract, in practice, in an institute-recognised training firm. The series will provide valuable information, particularly for those who wish to work as a statutory auditor in the future. It is important to note that the content in this video series is confined to the audit qualification requirements. This does not in any way impact on your qualification as an associate chartered accountant and solely relates to the educational requirements for the separate post-membership award of the audit qualification. In this episode, we begin by providing you with an understanding of how you can meet the educational requirements for the audit qualification. We will also explain how you would apply for the qualification. And for the purposes of this video, the terms AQ, audit qualification, or audit qualification requirements may be used when referring to the educational requirements for the audit qualification. And so, what is the audit qualification? As you progress towards membership of the Institute as an ACA, you may be considering the future direction of your career path. If, at some stage in the future, you wish to practice as a statutory auditor, there are a number of requirements that need to be met. The first requirement is to demonstrate that you have met the requirements for the AQ. It is important to note, though, that confirmation that you have met the requirements for the AQ does not allow you to sign off on audits. Further additional requirements for members who wish to become statutory auditors, and the term responsible individual is also used, are overseen by the Institute's Professional Standards Department. This may become relevant to you further along your membership journey. You should be aware that most members who have met the AQ requirements will have done so based entirely on experience gained during the period of approved training, and that is usually the training contract. Therefore, now is the time for you to understand the requirements you need to demonstrate for the AQ. So let's take a look at those requirements. There are several components to the requirements for the AQ, which you as a trainee should be aware of at this stage. These requirements are set out in the Institute's training regulations and are based on law in each jurisdiction. It is therefore important that you read the relevant sections of the training regulations to fully understand all requirements. The training regulations are accessible from the CA Diary Resources webpage as shown here. And what we will do now is set out two of those requirements. Firstly, you must have passed the Advanced Auditing and Assurance elective, which is one of the electives available as part of the FAE. It is therefore very important that trainees factor in this consideration following completion of CAP 2 and before enrolling on the FAE. The training regulations set out the training requirements, which includes you having obtained a minimum of 46 weeks practical training. In the case of Republic of Ireland, in statutory audit, Section 1461 of the Companies Act 2014 defines statutory audit as an audit of entity financial statements or group financial statements insofar as required by European law or required by national law as regards small companies. Or, in the case of Northern Ireland, either in statutory audit work, as defined under the Companies Act 2006, or other audit work similar to statutory audit work, as approved by the Secretary of State, of which at least 23 weeks shall have been in statutory audit work as defined in the Companies Act 2006. As you can see, these requirements differ in the two jurisdictions.
In this next section, we will take a look at how to apply for the AQ. The information that we provide here in this video is regarding the application process for newly admitted members to the Institute from 1 January 2021. The application process differs for non-newly admitted members and members admitted prior to this date. As mentioned earlier, the awarding of an audit qualification is subject to members meeting a number of requirements as set out in the training regulations, including acquiring the required audit experience in a recognised training firm supervised by a statutory auditor and successfully completing the audit elective option. Members admitted from 1 January 2021 will be invited to apply for the audit qualification provided they have met the appropriate educational requirements by completing an AQ application form. So, firstly, shortly after being admitted to membership, we will write to members who appear to have met the eligibility criteria of having sat and passed the audit elective and where at least the required number of weeks audit experience has been locked in their CA diaries, enclosing an AQ application form. A non-refundable fee is applicable. We encourage these newly admitted members to apply for the AQ at the earliest opportunity, but no later than within a 2-year time frame from admission date. While you will not be excluded from applying for the AQ after the 2-year time frame, we would highlight that due to restrictions regarding data protection legislation and retention policies in place within recognised training firms, you may find it more difficult to provide the Institute with any additional information that may be required to issue the AQ to you in the longer term. The application process and what you will need to do will all be outlined in the application correspondence that we send to you. The next step then is to complete the application form. So on receipt of the letter and application form from us, if you wish to apply for the audit qualification, you will be asked to undertake a self-review of the audit days recorded in your CA diary for accuracy and completeness. This will include ensuring that you have correctly classified your audit experience and that there is sufficient information in the diary entry to determine that the work undertaken was statutory audit or other audit as appropriate. We will address both of these matters in a little more detail in the other videos in this series, but typically, queries arise on review by the Institute regarding the type of entity audited, where it was incorporated, and what is the audit framework. So please ensure that this information is provided. This self-review process will of course be quite straightforward if the experience has been recorded in an accurate and complete way in your CA diary. All additional information and clarifications arising from this self-review should be provided in the allocated space on the AQ application form. You must not, under any circumstances, make amendments to the CA diary itself at that stage. There are resources available that will help you with this self-review, which we will look at on the next slide. It will be assumed that the AQ that a member is applying for is the AQ awarded under the law of the jurisdiction in which they trained. If this is not the case, you must make this clear to us in your application. Once you have completed your self-review and ensure that the application form is fully completed, it should be returned to us with the relevant fee. Next then, on receipt of the completed AQ application form, the Institute will carry out an in-depth review of the relevant audit experience recorded in your CA diary entries, which was signed off by both your mentor and an RI at the time of admission to membership, along with any amendments or clarifications provided by you in the AQ. Finally, once our processes are completed, we will write to members informing them if they have been awarded an AQ and the jurisdiction to which it relates, or if their application has been deferred. Where applications are deferred, we will provide feedback on the experience recorded, and further clarification can be provided by a member.
We remind you now of the resources that are available to assist you with completing your CA diary during your training contract, and these resources will also assist you with the self-review process. The resources are available on the CA Diary Resources page on the Institute website. In terms of recording audit experience, we mention, in particular, the Guide to Recording Audit Days CA Diary, the Guidance on Recording Audit Experience ROI, the Guidance on Recording Audit Experience NI, and the sample CA diary entries for trainees. Further information on these requirements can be found via the hyperlink shown on screen. That concludes this recording, which should have increased your awareness and understanding of the educational requirements for the audit qualification and the application process.